Hi, Steve. Do you expect Steph to be on any sort of minutes restriction or?
No.
Steve, Quinton's been the leader in the plus minus this season for a lot, leader in net rating. Do you have any, what's working there just in terms of, is it a specific group he's working well with, or is it he's just playing so well he's getting this way? Or something he does unlock something good about you guys?
Well, he's the reason we've wanted a space five for a decade. It just changes the whole game when you have a five who can step out and shoot, and it opens up the floor. But the biggest thing with QP is his defense has improved dramatically. He worked hard, getting stronger over the summer, and I think it's really just a classic case of a young guy coming in and going to the G League and putting in the work and getting a taste of the action last year and then getting better. I mean, it's exactly what you want as a coach, somebody like Quinton who fills a role and then really embraces it and keeps getting better. So he's just been really, really good for us.
What's the update on Draymond? I mean, do you know?
He should be in Portland. So whether he plays or not, we'll see. It will have been about 10 days between games. So he's been working out. He's been training. The injury's healed. So he's ready to go. It's just a question of whether Rick feels comfortable putting him out there. And so he'll meet us in Portland. We'll assess it there.
And what's the latest on Al Horford?
No update on Al. I mean, he'll be out tonight, and I haven't talked to Rick about Al today, so I don't have an update for you.
What have you seen from Minnesota lately, and is this one of those games where you kind of have to remind your team not to let your guard down without Edwards?
I don't think that's. I don't think we're that team right now to be able to do that or to say that. They were playing well. They won 6 in a row before the Phoenix loss, and then like us, they've had all these days off. So we'll see. How they decide to replace Ant tonight, who starts, and all that stuff. But we know them well. We saw them obviously in the playoffs last year. They have a lot of continuity with Chris and the staff and the most of the lineup. So really, really good team.
Obviously, having Steph back in the lineup is huge for you guys. But what does it do for the rest of the team, and just as far as your rotations, as far as kind of making everyone else better?
Well, Steph obviously makes everyone better. The lineups get they all get better when he's out there, but there's more people now, more mouths to feed, and more bodies, however you want to put it. So we have to decide on rotations, and some of that stuff we'll decide in game. We always map out a rotation, but tonight's a really hard night to do that, given the changes in our team recently, and Steph returning, and Draymond not being here. So a lot of options tonight.
Coach, in what ways have you seen Donte DiVincenzo impact winning most?
Well, when he was here, the reason he became a fan favorite was just the energy. I mean, you can just feel his presence as soon as he steps on the floor, the way he moves at both ends. He's really an instinctive player. He tends to be in the right place at the right time. I think what he picked up here from Steph is just the power of really being a threat to shoot every time you touch it. I think he became much more aggressive, after he left here, and I think he's actually credited Steph with some of that, if I'm not mistaken. But I loved coaching Donte, and he's a winner and guy I've always admired, and he's doing a great job in Minnesota.
Steve, I know Ant's not playing tonight, but Chris has him in even more of a playmaking role this year, I think, with the ball in his hands even more. I was just wondering, as you were coaching him, if you saw that potential in him, or to do a little more than even just be the scorer that he was at a younger age.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that talented, you always kind of want to experiment with whether it's on or off the ball. What does it look like if you have him as a screener? What does it look like if you play a small ball lineup with him? What does it look like if you have him handle the ball more often? All these things are really tantalizing when you're a coach and you see a guy that talented. When I coached him, the roles were pretty defined, but he was our best player on that team, and it was clear that he was entering, new ground. And he's clearly one of the best players in the league. And I think their situation, with Mike Conley getting a little older, I think it was probably necessitated by the roster. But he's obviously very capable of playing any position on the floor, really.
I know you had mentioned earlier this week needing to rebound the ball a little better. I mean, how do you go about, is that something you can drill during the week in practice? Is that film? Like, how do you go about kind of communicating that and getting that to be better?
Yeah, it's film, it's practice work. You go through your defensive drills, you make sure you finish every play with a box out. You show the film. One of the ones we're missing a lot is the elbow, the long shot, long rebound. You have to adjust these days. So many teams are taking so many threes, and most of those go out near the elbows. And I think every coach has this now on tape, but it's like, nobody on the offensive team is crashing. And you turn, he's not there, and everybody runs into the paint, and the ball bounces out to the perimeter, and it's like you give up an offensive board. So the modern game, the guards have to stay closer, to the perimeter. I mean, we teach the elbows, get to the elbows, but that ball is bouncing over people's heads all the time in the NBA now, and so we're showing a lot of those on tape, trying to get our guys to get to the elbows.
Steve, you've talked the last couple of days a lot about the logjam at guard and the challenges for the rotation. Even tonight you had a question on that. And last year you were also very open about how well DeAnthony fit, before he got hurt. He seemed like a logical guard next to Steph, given his two-way ability. Where is he at? How close is he to being himself, and how valuable can that skill set be for you?
He looked really good on the trip, moving well. It did not look like a guy who hasn't played in a year. He's on a 20-minutes restriction, which means I'll play him 20 minutes. So that's how I feel about DeAnthony.
How often over the summer did you think about the second round series with them last year and like what could have been?
I didn't spend too much time on it, honestly. We got ourselves in a really good position late in the year after trading for Jimmy, and a great first round victory, and seized the advantage in that game one, and we're all feeling great, and then stuff happens. So you don't spend too much time lamenting that stuff. Injuries occur every year, and you always know that in the playoffs, every team is sort of dependent on good health.
I know part of not having Steph was like you didn't necessarily learn, what normal teams learn when you get eliminated. But what did you learn about, your group losing those last 4 games?
Well, I think the playoffs always expose the details, the little things. One of the things that we tried to do in that series was put QP on McDaniels, and just figured, let's see if Quinton can, if we can jumble up the matchups and have Quinton guard a wing. And, his instinct immediately took him into the middle of the paint. I think it was the beginning of game 2, and McDaniels got a wide open 3 from the corner. Quinton was immediately like, that's my fault, and Moses learned some lessons, Houston putting Şengün on him, necessitating, Moses's ability to play pick and roll, be the roll man, be the pocket guy. And these are all things we talked to, individual players about over the summer and made sure they were working on. Just things that pop up in the playoffs are, like I said, the weaknesses are always exposed, and so it's a great chance to kind of take a look at what each player needs to do.
Steve, how much does Pat's improvement as a shooter, his ability to be more of a threat from three-point range, make you more comfortable with playing him next to Steph as well?
Yeah, it's a big deal. You know, the biggest thing is just that if he's willing to take the shot, then it sets up the rest of his game and it sets up our game. You know, we want to get good shots. We want to get open threes so we can crash. You know, we want the ball to move. You know, for 5-out spacing, you got to have a number of guys who can knock down that shot, and Pat has proven that this year, so it's changed him.
You guys ran a lot more pick and roll with him, but it didn't stop the passing as well too.
Right.
What's the next step, and what's unlocking that as far as his ability as a pick and roll player while still reading, reacting, and keeping that offensive flow going?
Well, no matter what you run, all you're trying to do is generate a rotation from the defense, and if you can get a rotation, then the ball can start moving, and so that's what Pat's doing. He's running a lot of pick and roll, he's getting a rotation, and he's really good at getting off the ball at the right time, and if we're spaced correctly and guys are in sync with each other, then the ball can really move, and as you saw on the road trip. And when the ball moves, Steph is at his best, so that we don't have to have him handle the ball the entire time, bringing it up against McDaniels, you know, getting pressured. We can move Steph off the ball and the ball's moving, then it opens up a lot for us.